Welcome back, everyone, to another Market Conversations. I'm Jerry Hall, and of course, broadcasting from beautiful, rainy Costa Rica. So, what a week it has been. Matter of fact, the last couple of weeks have been very interesting. We've had some turbulent times. We've had social media just exploding with agendas, famous people saying things. It's really been quite interesting to me. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this show in this way tonight, where I kind of want to get with you, this incredible audience that I've got, and talk about sifting through all the noise to get to the signal. What is the signal? You know, when I look at the world and I look at trends that have established themselves, trends that have 10, 20-year runways to them. I'm talking about, obviously, renewable energy, right? This is not just a social agenda that's been on the minds and in the hearts of many, but it's actually now become a very political agenda. And a lot of money is going to be put towards green energy. The European Union pouring billions of dollars into renewable energy. We know that President Biden and his administration has green energy high on their agenda, and they're going to just unleash the printing press on that particular industry. But as we look at these trends that have established themselves, there's many others, right? Obviously, electric vehicles. And with electric vehicles come battery technology, software, a tremendous amount of artificial intelligence, right? We've got AI as an industry, robotics, data, not just usage, but storage, telecommunications. When we see the rollout of 5G, and we know that 6G is not that far away, and you've got companies like SpaceX deploying Starlink, telecom and data communication, it's a big industry. It's a really big industry, and we know that trend is going, as well as things like biotech. So with all that being said, where does crypto fall into this? Well, I think there's a lot of crypto in all of that. I'm going to have to start changing my vernacular and my vocabulary and just start using the words digital assets. Because we have digital assets that are going to act like currencies. We're going to have digital assets that act like voting and rulemaking and governance. We're going to have digital assets that represent property in the real world, as well as property in cyberspace. It's really, really interesting. And so for me, I find myself getting caught up sometimes, or at least expending a tremendous amount of energy and time sifting through what I call noise. Case in point, I have an example. This whole Tesla Elon Musk announcement that came out earlier this week that they will not accept Bitcoin as payments for their Tesla cars. Well, between my Patreon members and stuff that I saw on Twitter, there are a lot of people that believe that that had something to do with, in great part, to why Bitcoin and some of the market took a little nosedive earlier in the week. I don't know about that. What I can tell you is the whole, a lot of the markets, the S&P and the NASDAQ, as well as the commodities markets, Tuesday, Wednesday, well, especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, took some hits. I don't think Elon had anything to do with that. I'm sure there's in some small part, but not as a whole. And one of the things that I find really, really important is to remind myself, don't get caught up in the minutia. I've identified a trend a long time ago, and a lot of you have as well. We've placed our bets, and many of us continue to dollar cost average, not only into the existing projects that we think are going to be monsters, but also new projects, taking little chunks and creating little bags along the way. Well, if I were to spend a tremendous amount of time chasing every story, every little piece of upheaval, I'd get nothing done. So what I wanted to have this talk with you guys tonight is about finding that signal through the noise. Well, when I read the actual press release from Tesla, although yes, it said we will not be accepting Bitcoin for the purchase of our automobiles, it clearly said we will not be selling our Bitcoin. Now, most of what I saw on social media and on the television news reports that I get the clips for on YouTube focused on the not accepting Bitcoin for the purchase of the Teslas. Not a lot of mention that Tesla said we will not be selling our Bitcoin. To me, the noise is all that stuff about Bitcoin and buying Teslas, and the signal is, hey, we're not selling our Bitcoin. I just read a thing about Square. Yeah, Square took a hit in the markets as it pertains to their profit and loss and their revenue and cash flows, and had to sell some Bitcoin to make up the shortfall. Well, I've saw so many little snippets about how the sky is falling. Square is abandoning Bitcoin. And then I read from the CFO, our Bitcoin strategy is not changed. We will acquire with excess cash flows. Bitcoin is our treasury reserve asset, one of many. And we continue to purchase as we can. That's the signal. Not that they had some trouble in their operating expenses. Every business goes through bumpy quarters. Case in point, MicroStrategy, one of our all-time favorites, and a big-time Bitcoin bull, Mr. Michael Saylor, put out his tweet this week that, yeah, MicroStrategy swept 15 million. No, it was 150. It was 150 million into Bitcoin at an average price of 55,000, as they continue to do every quarter, as they realize cash flows from their actual enterprise software business. That's the signal. All that other stuff is noise. Now, for me, I'm not a trader. I'm not acutely, and I don't need to be acutely aware of the day-to-day. Although there are times where it's prudent to keep your ear to the pavement. Case in point, December 23rd. Brad Garlinghouse tweets, the SEC is filing a lawsuit against Ripple tomorrow morning. It paid to get that information quickly and to act upon that information in the moment. No hesitation, no waiting. So we walk a fine line. I'd like to hear from you folks what you're doing. How are you sifting through the tons of noise to get to the signal? What's important? What is actually the narrative? What's the reality? And what's all the BS? Let me go through the chat while you guys come up with what you got going here. I want to say welcome to Pete Kelly. Obviously, Crypto SpaceX. Now, Crypto SpaceX says he's got something from Elon. I guess Elon Musk replied to a tweet from him or something. He says he'd like to share that. I'd love to hear it. Let's see, what do we got? Scorpion. Hey. More on Scorpion coming up later in the show. Obviously, DC Precise. Well, of course, producer Brady, Barry, Lori, nice to see you. Danny, hey, Danny. Sylvia Anders. We got William. Hey, William. Nice to have you in the house, man. tuning in from Facebook. Glad to have all you folks from Facebook, as well as those that are watching on Periscope and, of course, the YouTube channel. We've got Ruben. Hey, Ruben. Dodler in the house. JDO. Hello, crypto family. Prof XRP. Man, I'm telling you. When Mullet. Oh, my goodness. Now, Mullet has got a great comment here. I ignore all the talking heads. I buy and sell on charts. All the news is in the candles. Mullet. You know what? That's one. I'll be honest. I have to be 100% honest with you. Although I understand principally, TA, I'm not able to execute myself. I have to tune into folks like BC Backer, and I have to go to TradingView and, do a comparison, because one of the wonderful things about going to TradingView, hi Bill Gould, is when I go to TradingView, I can see pro and con arguments on the same chart from different people. And I think it's always important to get as many different views when you're starting to try to form an opinion, to get input coming from both sides of any argument. Very, very helpful. Tyron, nice to have you in the house. Danny, oh, of course I said hello to Danny. So I had a guest lined up who canceled. And then I reached out to one of my new Patreon members and said, hey, can I get you to come on the show? And she said, yeah. And the links went out. And I don't know what's happened. Somebody must have blown a frickin' clutch or something. I don't know. Anyway, so here I am talking to you guys about how to sift through the noise to get the signal. Now, obviously, trading and investing can be two different things. And sometimes, being one can make you good at being the other, right? And vice versa. But I don't fancy myself a trader, although I have made some trades. As an investor, though, I have to keep in mind, I'm looking at 10 years of runway. I honestly believe I've built a portfolio in projects that give me exposure to this market's growth, not specific entities in the market, although some do represent specificity. I probably did not say that word correctly, and I'm sure I'll get corrected in the comments. But like, for instance, having a solid foundation in what I believe is a solid store of value and is being adopted by the most people in Bitcoin, I think that's pretty. Hang on, I just got a message from my guest who says she's on the link I sent, and I don't believe that's true. So I'm going to send another. Give me a second, folks. Because if she was on the link I sent, she'd be here, right? Bam. Maybe she's watching. No, she wouldn't be watching. Those messages were on my WhatsApp. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly respond. Check email for new. Bam. I don't even know where I was, but I know it was great. The whole 10-year plan. Yeah. So, I've got exposure to a bunch of these layer one protocols, right? So I built a foundation in Bitcoin. I have a bunch of what we would call smart contract platforms that I believe I have, six or seven of them. And those 7, I believe, have the best chance to be the home of the next application that's going to reach 1 billion people. BZ! After all, that is what networks are about, right? The networks that garner the largest number of users, they win. And those that don't. Just ask MySpace. We live in the too much information age. There was a time where things were a lot simpler. There is no doubt about it. K Torres, good to have you in the house. Jerry, you still think we're far from ending the bull market? As a matter of fact, K Torres, I don't believe there is such a thing as bull and bear markets anymore. And I'll tell you why. It's pretty simple. Bull and bear markets come from the stock market terminology, all based around business cycles. Businesses emerge, they borrow money, they take on investment, they create, refine, and distribute a product or a service. It either succeeds or it fails. If it succeeds, they bring in a ton of cash flow and revenue, they pay off their loans, they pay off their investors, and they go public. If they need more money, they take on debt, they apply it to R&D, they refine their products and services, they bring in more cash flow and pay off their debt. That was called the business cycle. Well, the business cycle doesn't exist anymore. Tyron, thank you so much for the super chat. Buy some VeChain on me. Well, you know what? VeChain's not a bad buy today, in my opinion. I think VeChain, anything under 25 cents is wonderful. I think that's a coin that's got a tremendous amount of runway in front of it. But back to the story. So when I'm looking at, again, I don't know why I keep getting distracted. Oh, because Kara's not here. I keep waiting for Kara to pop in the studio and bring her in. So I feel like I'm filling in time here. But the point that I'm making is that I've got these layer one protocols. I've got Bitcoin as my store of value. And then I've got some very specific bets, right? So I have a little bit of money in an application protocol called Audius. I figure music has a very good chance of reaching 1 billion users if they can refine their user interface and get a couple of names that have audiences to join that platform and distribute that music to people over that application. A music app has a chance to get 1 billion users. Theta TV has a chance to get 1 billion users. But I didn't invest in Theta, and I'll tell you why. I got to see how Cinnamon Video worked. And Cinnamon Video took a poo-poo. All right, I see Kara. Kara. I don't know if this is the same Kara. It could be. Kara, is this the same Kara? So anyway, 1 billion users. So I got these layer one protocols. I've got some payment tokens, right? XDC and XRP. Mario, good to have you in the house. Because payments are important. And if we in the United States can actually get one of these digital assets deemed a currency and not a property, therefore not carrying any of that weird profit and loss with every time you transact in it. If we could get a true virtual currency that wasn't a stable coin, that token has a serious chance of making some serious headway in the payments industry. Then I got a couple plays in AI. I like Fetch AI and I like AGI. Why? Well, because so many of these these trend industries that are already established, they rattled off at the beginning of the show, are going to have layers of artificial intelligence built into them, right? Autonomous or just any electric vehicle. All the software that's in electric vehicle, you don't think AI is part of that? It is. And then, of course, autonomous driving vehicles are going to have a poop ton of artificial intelligence. Now, these are plays that may or may not pan out. I don't know. I don't have a large stake in any of them. But there's a chance. H-bar. I understand what H-bar is. BZ, what is it for? What does it do? What problem does it solve, really? And what industries are going to adopt that particular protocol over some other? I don't know. I see, Crypto Insider, you've got a point. There are cycles. But again, I don't think they're bull and bear. I think in that we have the beginning of these networks and the network effects that happen. I believe there are S curves in adoption cycles. We can go back and look at cellular when we went wireless. We can go back and look at the internet. We can go back and look at the mobile data wave and see the cycles. I mean, if you really want a great long-term example of that, just look at Amazon. Just look at Amazon from inception to today. How many times did Amazon get dragged? Okay, Kara, that's impossible. Because if you were in the link that I sent you, I would see you in the studio. I could watch. I can bring Brady in the studio because he's in the studio. So, Kara, this is my suggestion. You hit the link. You have to actually press enter studio. It's not enough to just hit the link. You actually have to go through the process of entering the studio, inserting your name, making sure your camera works, seeing the little mic level on the side, and then at the bottom, press enter studio, and bada bing, bada boom. All right, Dash, what do you got for me? Music is a good point. Cell phone service is another one. Ooh, speaking of cell phone services, anybody remember World Phone Coin were something like that? It's coming out on the Cardano blockchain pretty soon. I got that newsletter. I signed up. I will probably be an early investor in that coin. Looks like Kara made it into the studio. She's giggling and smiling. This ought to be fun. Kara, welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Howdy. Sorry about that.
Was it as simple as you just didn't hit enter studio?
Well, I have an excuse.
Okay.
I'm on my phone, and I would have had to scroll down the page to see the name, and I didn't.
Well, you're here now, and I'm glad that you joined us. The topic of the show is sifting through the noise to get to the signal.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like in digital assets, there is a lot of noise. And I guess it's kind of related to what you're focused on. Like if it's just you're scrolling through Twitter and it's news, how do you sift through that noise versus you're researching a particular coin? What can you guide me as to which kind of narrow it down for me?
Well, the noise comes from everywhere, right? Facebook, Twitter, your brother, your sister, the taxi driver, CNBC, CNN. Noise comes from everywhere, right?
Yeah, it does. Something that's very important is to just know your goals, like what you want to do, and so there's all this information coming in, and there's all these different opinions, and there's all these different data points. So you kind of have to know, okay, what am I looking at? Why am I looking at it? And then be discerning. So, for example, if I can give kind of one example. It's very specific, but I'm interested in like one particular coin. And this coin, the tokenomics, they just like drastically reduced like 94% of their tokens or something. And they have like rewards and they have all these things going on and they have, but you can calculate it out. And I keep calculating it and it doesn't add up. So it's like you go through Twitter and everyone's saying how great it is, jump in. You go through this, all these different things. And then I think I might have reached out to the company or something just to get some answers because it's crypto and you have access to people. But it didn't work out. So you just have to what I do is I just kind of try to keep in mind, like, what am I looking for, what's out there, and then what actually makes sense when you put two and two together.
Got it. So let me ask you something for the viewers and stuff, because the relationship you and I are starting is relatively new. You just recently joined the Patreon group, and by the way, thank you very much. And I had the good fortune of spending about an hour on the phone with you the other day, just kind of getting a foundation of how I can help you and how we can collaborate within the investment club. What was one of the impetus for you to like even get involved in digital asset space? Because it is kind of crazy, and especially when you're new. And so obviously you're not new right this minute, but you were when you were new. It can be overwhelming. So what was the impetus that really drove you to say, you know what, I'm going to roll up my sleeves, I'm going to learn this?
I mean, just the beginning impetus was last year seeing Bitcoin, the price in March. And that just really piqued my interest. And I had this inkling, like, I need to invest now, but I didn't. I didn't. And I didn't follow it. Life comes in, and then come December, it just makes sense. It's an exciting space. It's challenging, which I like. There's so much risk, but there's so much reward. And it just, it just seems like inevitable that this is where we're headed.
Yeah.
And it seems just like a really good time for people who aren't already in it to get into it.
I was having a conversation with another one of the newer Patreon members the other day. And his question was, Jerry, I don't want to invest in a little of this and a little of that and a little of this. I want to find a token for the whole space and just invest in the space, because I think the space is for sure going to be a winner. But I don't know, when I went back and looked 5 years ago at the top 20 coins, 12 of them are don't exist anymore. 5 years ago. That's only 5 years. And I told him, I said, I don't have an answer to that. But the closest thing to investing in this space overall, it's Bitcoin. It's not going to have thousands of % returns like other tokens that you could find, but it sure has all the makings of something that is going to preserve purchasing power for years and years to come. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to keep it simple for those of you that are watching at home that are brand new and things of that nature, start with Bitcoin, learn something, and then start finding projects that match use cases that you think an application can be built that'll reach a billion people. And when that happens, bada bing, bada boom, right? What do we got here? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kara.
Oh, I was also going to say, I don't know if you saw it, but when I was backstage, I guess, did you see that Lori, it was her 1 year anniversary for buying crypto? She had mentioned in the comments.
Lori Bearfield is a rock star. Lori's one of our Patreon members, and I hope you get to know her, Kara. She's a wonderful first-class human being, number one. But number two, there's even though she is mature like myself, there's almost like a child energy inside of her, and she brings that to all this stuff, and she gets excited, and she's really doing something incredible. Talk about somebody who came to this space to make an investment, but actually that investment is turned into the biggest investment she's making is in her own education. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people aren't giving enough credit to. Yes, we come to crypto and we're hoping to make some money, but many of us, what we end up getting is financially literate. And that will serve us regardless of any one particular coin goes up or down, right? That is the magic sauce. Let me say hi to a couple folks. Dean K, nice to have you. 7th DM or 7th Denim. Of course, Dash. And I think I already got Crypto Insider, but if I didn't, right on, nice to have you. There's a whole bunch of people watching that aren't in the chat. I'm not sure why. That's okay if you're just interested in watching. Oh, I didn't say a special hello to Patsy Green. Patsy's a wonderful lady. Soon ERC20 on Cardano. Yes. They have an entire tool on Cardano for migrating ERC20 tokens over. And I happen to know for a fact that an existing ERC20 token represented called AGI, which is the Singularity Net Artificial Intelligence open source marketplace for AI, is going to be on Cardano soon. None of that's new news. I'm really excited about it because I like Sophia the robot. Hey, Steve. And AI, I think, is going to be interwoven in so much of these technologies and these trends going forward for the next 10 years. Kara, you weren't here in the beginning, but I wanted to ask you, I had this little list of what I thought were established trends that have at least 10-year runways, right, for growth and innovation. One, renewable energy, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, robotics, data, both on the usage side and the storage side, telecommunications and data wirelessly with 5G, 6G, and soon to be Starlink, and then, of course, biotech. And how many of those things do you think I'm on point? Do you think any of those don't deserve to be counted in a 10-year growth ramp, or is there something I didn't list that you see should be on that list?
I think those are definitely all worthy. I maybe like payment processing or cross-border, like, sending payments.
Okay. Got it. I would think a lot of that will be in data, because on the web, it's just digits, right? Value is just digits on the web. But I think it's exciting. Guess who we got backstage? I want to bring him in and add him to the conversation. One of the just absolute studs in the community, Scorpion, is joining us right now. What's happening, my brother?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Say hello to Kara. Meet Kara.
Hello, Kara. How are you? Can you hear me?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. Hey, Jerry, I want to say that I know you want to call it digital assets, but then I can't call it crypto and vino.
Hey, my friend, you've earned the right to call it whatever you want. That's great. Great. So you're enjoying some wine. You've heard a lot of the show already. I think you actually, from the beginning, comments, anything you want to contribute to the conversation that we got going on here, sifting through the noise to get to the signal, looking at trends that we, with a tremendous amount of certainty can say have, at least a 10-year runway ahead of us. and how crypto or digital assets fit into that.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, back in, I think, 2017, I was subscribed to a service, a trading service, investing service. And one of the lead writers said that they wouldn't touch Bitcoin with a 10-foot pole. And I took that to heart. And then I had a friend ask me about Bitcoin. And I said to him, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And I didn't really know much about it. But then a few months after that occurred, I was purchasing Bitcoin. And I guess that type of hype got me involved with it. But as I've learned from people like yourself, Nick, and some other people, over time, I've tended to weed out the noise by focusing on people that I can relate to, and people that I admire and that are smarter than me, because obviously you guys are smarter than me in the space.
I'm not. I'm glad that I'm glad that you tune in, because I'm not smarter than you. And I mean, it's evident. People don't know. When I have a problem, I call Scorp. Hey, Scorp, my computer took a poo-poo. I need help. Jerry, did you press this button? No. Press the button. Oh, thanks, Scorp. No, I'm not smarter than you. But one of the things, and this would be a great question for both of you, Kara and Scorp. How are you defining your quote unquote like assets? Like, do you define assets in different categories? Like Kara talked about payments just a second ago as probably being a real growth industry. Do you guys part and parcel your various different kinds of digital assets into categories? And if so, what are they?
I would say for me, not as much. I'm looking more at the solidity of the project itself, and whether it would be something that I think has a future down the road, and who's involved, how many people are involved with the project, what they're doing, what the possibilities of that project may be. And I'm not more or less categorizing it. I also do a couple of things where I tend to stay away from coins that have high fees to them, at least right now. I'm more or less trying to buy, hold, build yield at present. So
you don't touch anything related to Ethereum?
I do, but one of the things I have done recently, though, is I started looking. I did a little paradigm change in my thought. So I stopped looking at coins versus the US dollar, and I started looking at them versus another coin. So against Bitcoin or against Ethereum, and kind of say, well, what is the SHT coin? And the USD can actually be considered an SHD, T coin. So let's compare it to that. So I started in the marketplace buying coins that were ready to go up against another coin, such as Ethereum or Bitcoin. And then using
interesting.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Now, Kara, what about yourself, young lady?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
The question was, do you categorize tokens? Like, do you put different projects into different categories?
Sometimes if I'm looking for a new coin to buy, I'll go like CoinMarketCap, the different categories, and I'll say, well, I might have missed the boat on this one, and I'll kind of look through ones that might not be as popular now, and then kind of do due diligence, research the team, research the following, research product as much as I can. I also think that one thing that you brought up was the kind of experts, or like kind of going to people that are smarter than you to help sift through the noise. And I think in crypto you have such good like communities. Like there's like Discord, Twitter, even Telegram, things like that are really important. So I also like usually go through those and kind of see what's being mentioned, and then also kind of research that depending on what's being said. I don't ever like take it at 100%, but that's one.
No, I think that's, I don't think any of us should take any advice from a YouTuber or a dude on Telegraph as being gospel, right? But I'll tell you, Scorp brought up a really good point. So you were talking about buying relative to some other point in this market, not something outside the market like the US dollar or the S&P or NASDAQ or what have you. I am doing something similar now with my portfolio and the dollar cost averaging that's coming in. I will make a determination based on, like, for instance, if Ethereum's been kind of on a nice little run the last 5 days, 6 days, right? So I'm not putting any money in Ethereum. I'm looking at if Ethereum is going to do well, right? Like if that's your thesis that Ethereum is going to do well, what other subsequent entities were in the market that will add value to Ethereum, right? Polygon Matic token, I thought, was one of those, right? It's a layer 2 on top of Ethereum. And there's a chance that it can really add real value to the Ethereum ecosystem. And if you have a thesis that the Ethereum ecosystem will be one of the winners in the smart contract space, then it made sense to pick up some Matic. So, I did, and I've been accumulating. I don't make a lot of, I don't have like a really real income like a lot of folks do. So I kind of got to pick my spots, right? Pick my spots. I got all of them together, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stake them. So I get them into my MetaMask wallet. I'm going to stake them. And of course, I pay my little $80 just to tell the Matic site that I have the tokens and I want to stake them. So I pay the $80. I bite the bullet on that. I hate doing it. And then I got the news. If I wanted to stake my little bag of Matic on the Matic platform, it was going to cost me $900 in Ethereum to stake $1,800 worth of Matic. And I thought to myself, this is horrible. This is horrible. Now, if it was $30,000 in Matic, right, to spend 0.23% of the overall bag on a fee, I understand that. It's going to generate 17+% per year. That's fine. Laws of big numbers, the yield will offset that in a relatively short period of time. But an $1,800 bag costing $900 to stake it, do you know how long it would take me to recuperate that Ethereum cost just to get to break even?
The question, Jerry, is did you do the math?
The truth is, I saw the number and I didn't do the math. What I did is I pressed the reject button in the MetaMask wallet and said, I'll just eat it. I'll just go to Celcius. I parked it on Celcius and said, screw it. Not your keys, not your crypto. I know. I'm well aware. But I'm not going to hold on to a coin that I can earn yield on and not earn yield on it if it's at all possible to earn yield on it. So that's my story. But we're back to looking at tokens, sifting through the noise to get to the signal. I thought that was a good example of sifting through noise, right? There's all this stuff. Oh, Ethereum is slow and it's expensive and it's this and it's that. Well, when you look at how many actual applications are built on Ethereum, it's staggering. Mm-hmm. How many applications are built on Cardano? I love Cardano, but I can't name one single application that's built on it other than their voting mechanism, right?
Currently, yeah, and hopefully that will change,
Again, but it's hopefully. Polkadot, brilliant architecture, parachains, excellent, wonderful. What's built on Polkadot? Nothing.
Yeah,
This many.
we're buying into the hope, right?
We're buying into the hopium. So, if I just break it down and go, okay, Ethereum got tons of problems. All these other layer ones got all kinds of promise, but nothing's on them yet. So it's hard to have a tremendous amount of conviction. I have a tremendous amount of hope. I don't have a tremendous amount of conviction. But I'm willing to place bets in accordance to that. I'm not going to bet the farm on it, right? I'm not going to leverage my whole portfolio to take a big old huge chunk of Polkadot and go, here we go. I win or lose with Polkadot. I'm not going to do it. I only think there's one coin that you can do that with in the marketplace as it stands right now. And it's not real sexy. Bitcoin's not sexy. It's kind of, whatever. A promise versus a problem. Thank you, Brady. All right. Kara, pick a topic. Something you want to discuss. She's bright. This lady studies, and I love that about her. She's on a big delay.
She looks frozen, Jerry.
Yeah, I think there's a frozenness going on. All right, Scort, pick a topic.
Yeah. So I mean, interestingly enough, one of the things that I did do, and when you were talking, and I was thinking, and I was looking at a couple different pairs against Ethereum, and I had some Ethereum just sitting there doing nothing, and I figured I would hold on to Ethereum just to use it for any transaction fees. And then something came up, and I saw that the Cardano against Ethereum pair, Cardano was cheap in relation to Ethereum. And so I traded my Ethereum in for Cardano, and that thing popped up against Ethereum pretty nicely. Let alone it recently has popped up against the dollar.
It's popped up against everything.
Yeah, and yeah, it's great. So who knows? I mean, could that? What I'm really trying to do, I guess, is be able to have the opportunity to buy more Ethereum if I want to get back into that, or just hold it and stake it. But watching people like yourself, which you do a fantastic job giving back to the community with your information and your experience, and some other people in the space that we follow and we watch. It's fantastic to really narrow down who you want to get your information from, and then be able to take that information and do what you need to do based upon who you are as a person. And it's funny how, when you see the noise out there, I got a couple people that are into some coins that who knows what they are, and they want to buy this, and you go and get involved in their chats, and you start going through. And I think some of the things that irk me in the space is everybody saying to the moon. That's an irk of mine. What do you mean? Everybody wants something to go to the moon, but what does that mean? Right? I mean,
for me, it means filthy friggin' rich.
Right. I mean, I get that, right? But I guess the point is that, I mean, we all wanted to go to the moon. But I want something stable as well to go to the moon. Yeah, I don't want to get on a rocket ship that's going to blow up going to the moon. So that's where I think I would stand in that particular position.
That's probably a good idea. Don't get on a failing or poorly built rocket ship. I like that. That's good advice. Kara, are you back with us? No? I see her.
Am I?
Oh, okay. I heard a voice, but I didn't see any lips move. She's a ventriloquist. Go ahead, Kara. I wonder if it's the stream.
One of my many talents.
Max Headroom's back.
Yeah, it's kind of spotty here. So
Okay. Well, I'll speak on your behalf. One of the incredible things that we got to talk about in a nod or smile if it's okay for me to talk about the 401k Roth. Yes, I think it's okay.
I'll bleep twice. Can you hear me?
Yes. Well,
Can you hear
we
me?
can. Yeah,
Okay.
tell us about this incredible
Okay.
thing you found. This 401k that becomes a Roth IRA.
Okay. Yes. You can hear. Yes. A little bit.
You're choppy.
Am I coming through?
Hardly.
Yes. No. I'm sorry.
No.
I apologize. Technology.
It's not you.
Not.
It's not you.
Okay.
I blame it on your service provider. I don't hold it against you personally. Oh, poor girl.
Sure. So you're not hearing me.
No, we hear you.
I'm gonna
And then when you start to talk, we don't hear you.
exit and come back.
I feel her pain.
Oh, she just left. Ouch. Ouch. So
You know-
anyway, folks, let me tell you about this thing from Neighbor. NABER is the name of the company. They offer this product that you start it it's only for self-employed people. If you're self-employed and you own your own business, or you file a Schedule C 1040 tax return, you're independent contractor, you start this sucker like a 401k, right? Tax deferred money going in, and you can roll it into a Roth IRA, and there are digital assets involved. Really, when she first was telling me about it, I went, no way. You can't have a 401k and a Roth IRA exist in the same place. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. I understand tax code. From that perspective, sorry, I think you've misread it. And she's like very kind and gentle with me, Jerry. You need to go read this and you need to go understand it. And I did. And I went, wow, there's a new product on the market for us. And this is something I've already reached out to them. I'm going to try to get them on the show. And Kara's back. I'm going to see if we can get Kara back in.
Woo-hoo.
Kara. And the second I bring her in, it's Freezer Rooney. Oh my goodness, the poor thing. Anyway, that I think is a note to leave on the high side. Kara, stay in the studio for a minute. Brady, come on in, Brady. So anyway, folks, if you are considering trying to structure some vehicle, right, to legally take advantage of the tax code, you've got to go check out these Neighbor self-directed 401ks that can roll into a Roth IRA. It's really some really interesting stuff. As well as I've been doing a lot of research on trusts, and I'm finding more and more that it isn't as arduous as I thought it was going to be. And sheltering our assets, not only from unnecessary liability, but for easy transition to our loved ones in the form of a trust, is actually quite easy. If you look at it now, the crypto industry does not allow you to assign beneficiaries to your Coinbase account, Uphold account, Nexo account, Celcius account, BlockFi account, blobbity, bloobity, bloobity, blobbity. Nobody is allowing direct transition through beneficiary privileges, which means if any of you happen to pass and your people don't have everything they need to get those assets and do something with them, and you're forced to go to probate with these things, expensive and arduous. Brady, producer Brady, calling producer Brady. Bang.
Cheerio.
Roberto. Hey, todo bien, mi amigo. Gracias.
What's
Me gusta
happening?
aquí. So Brady, hang in there. I'm going to get Scorp's final thoughts. And then I want to go to you, and I want to close out the show and have a little party in the green room after, if I can get Kara and Scorp to hang out for a minute. But Scorp, final thought on the show, final thought on sifting through the noise, blobbity bloobity.
Yeah. I mean, just be smart. Don't jump on anything you see or hear because your neighbor's best friend, next door neighbor, second cousin, great uncle's aunt is saying that this is the best thing since sliced bread, and you better get in it now. Do your homework. Obviously, find people that you relate to. Be smart with what you do. I think one thing that I've learned is if you think you're missing the boat, you're not. Because I thought I was missing the boat and realized that, hey, I had another opportunity to get into something. So that would be my final thoughts. Although I may not be as eloquent as you, Jerry, or I may not be as profound as Brady, I want to hear your final thoughts, and I appreciate your time and allowing me to come on your show. Thank you.
That's so wonderful. Hey, hang out in the green room. We'll be right there. Now, I'll tell you, Scorpion is right. Brady went deep on me before the show. Got real deep. I mean, I'm going to have to take a minute to absorb what we did before the show. But Brady, for the audience, final thoughts on this whole sifting through the noise to understand the signal.
Yes. I'm actually trying to figure that out right now. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I just had to catch my thoughts. Don't
let it get away.
Yeah, seriously. How deep I went earlier, I'm not even sure if I can describe it. But hopefully I put it in a tweet, because I think that's where I read it from when I said it to you, but I can't quite remember. So it might have gotten lost in the theme of intrigue. I don't know. But I'll try and find it later, because it was rather deep. But I can't quite remember right now.
It's not that deep if you can't remember it later. You know what they call that? It's called BS. If it sounded good in the moment, but you can't remember it later, it wasn't that profound.
A fleeting thought. And then I'm reminded if I didn't write it down, then it probably wasn't worth it. But it made me think. So I guess that's my final thought.
How do you sift through the noise, Brady? How do you sift through the noise to try to understand the real signal, where you make your decisions from?
One word: trust.
Oh.
And it's not so much a sift through the noise, it's a aggregate all information consumed and then figure out what to do with it later. So it's sort of a lens aggregator, noise sifter. But yeah, it relies a lot on either what I've learned in the past about myself at a market back then, and then how that relates to now. And if it's my portfolio or someone else's, depending on their strategy and what they want, that's kind of what happens. So that's my final thought, and I'm sticking to it.
Right on. I'll catch you backstage in a minute. Folks, there's a lot to chew on. A lot going on in this crazy world we live in. COVID hasn't gone away. Prices for things, real inflation is actually starting to show its ugly head. I got friends that are contractors in the States. Lumber prices and raw material prices for construction are going through the roof. Copper and some of these industrial metals, There's just not the supply to meet the demand for these new industries, right? Electric vehicles, lithium. I mean, commodities are going nuts. We're seeing gas prices increase. Inflation is real. I'd like you to leave on this thought. Look at everything in your life that you interact with in the economy as it pertains to dollars, and then look at your investments. Do you have investments in the stock market where every one of those stocks is dependent on the US dollar, i.e. cash flow, i.e. to service its debt, etc.? Bonds, gold, silver, real estate, with all the liabilities that are coming with taxation. Every state and every county in the United States, as well as provinces in countries in Europe, are all faced with the same dilemma. They have huge deficits, and the only answer they have is raising taxes. So look at your investments. If they're denominated in the US dollar, how much of this inflation that you're seeing in the price of goods and services affects you? Are you seeing your investments go up as a result of that inflation? Or are you seeing the cost to carry those investments going up, making those investments less and less attractive? A lot of things on our plates as investors to think about and ponder. And I'm glad that you decided to spend some of your Friday night with us here on this channel. To all the patrons that tuned in, thank you so much. The Patreon group is going great. We only got a couple spots left. If you were on the fence, get in while you can, or it'll be full and you'll have to wait till the next cycle. It's all good. Thanks for tuning in and subscribing to the show. And if you haven't, hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe. We do this every Friday night, and every once in a while, I'll post a video with an interview of a really fascinating person. But until next time, next week, Pura Vida.